So I want to do a little quick review on this game, Bellum. First things, this game's pretty nice. I do like the concept of this game. I think it does have some interesting qualities to it that a lot of tactical shooters don't have. Um, I think if they kept working on it and kept making it better, I think this could be a decently successful game. I don't think this game will ever reach the likes of Insurgency or anything like that in terms of like cultural hype and shit. But this game is definitely a blast. This game would be definitely a blast to play with friends. But here's my problems with this game. So this game is very like coordinated, very teamwork focused, but they don't ever really enforce it, you know? It's sort of enforced in the sense of like that well, obviously if you don't listen to your SL's commands, and obviously if you don't really play with other people and you're very lone wolf, like you're obviously not going to find like these big gunfights, and you're not going to have like the most fun with the game. But there are sort of instances in the game where you feel like, well, maybe this fire team is so spread apart. Like I was playing this shit, and it's like the fire team is like in 3 different places of the map. As you can see, like on my little watch here, like there's 3 dudes and they're not even like together. They're not even like remotely even communicating with each other, and shit like that. But the concept of like the platoon leader and then the squad leader sort of moving around these fire teams, and sometimes it does work, and sometimes it is really like cool. It's really cool because then you get to see like really interesting firefights, really interesting engagements, calling in like an AT team with the RPG, blowing up an objective and then sending another, rifle squad in. Like shit like that, little shit like that's really cool. And I like how the platoon leader, who like basically runs the whole side of the other team, he sort of like directs everyone around. And I think that is like very interesting. I just wish personally they just hammered in that. They need to hammer in that. But the problem is that there really isn't any real enforcement other than the fact that you won't have fun. Or at least personally to me, like the only reason why I wouldn't just go lone wolf out into the middle of the like nowhere is that it really isn't like it's not really a smart thing to do, and it's just not fun to me. But to some like troll or to some like asshole guy who doesn't want to listen to the rules, they're gonna do that regardless. And there's a lot of people like that. Me and my friend were talking about this last night, but like we were sort of talking about War of Rights. How in War of Rights, like if you weren't with your regiment and you died, you would have to wait like a minute to respawn, or like there was actual real in like what would you even say? There was an actual real punishment for not following the rules. In this game, there is no punishment. The only punishment you have is whether your personal enjoyment's getting ruined or not. And I think like they need to start adding in shit like that. I would love to see like a vehicle added into this game, like maybe like an IFV, an APC or something. But right now the game is so bare bones, but I can see the potential. I can see the, what they're going for. A more like focused squad game, because Squad fucking blows cock. No one like pays attention to like their actual SL, and everyone's fighting, and it's just a huge fucking mess all the time. But in this game, it's like people actually listen to each other. People actually talk on comms. They actually call you by your code name. They actually like give a fuck. They actually like give a fuck about having fun in the game. In Squad, no one gives a fuck. They only care about their own personal enjoyment and not about everyone's enjoyment in the game. I guess you would say. Like there's tons of moments in this game where like just like this where you're seeing right now, I'm just like sitting in the trees looking for shit. But like that's immersive. That's like you're in a war, In Squad, it doesn't really feel like you're in a war. It feels like you're, fucking around with noobs all day. But I don't know. This game's very interesting. I like the concept. I like the gunplay. It's pretty nice. The gun, the sounds are pretty good. I kind of like that it's a little bare bones. It kind of reminds me of Project Reality. But there's a certain quality of life improvements that they can make in this game to make the state of the game right now better. Like just adding punishments for misbehaving players and shit like that. Just little fucking shit like that. Maybe even making the compass just on your screen, perhaps. Sometimes it's like hard to like you see a contact and they're right in front of you and you don't even have enough time to like really call out their like location. But maybe that's just a skill issue. Because the only way you can really call out their location is if you hold tab and you look at your fucking watch and you see where the fuck. And like I'm sure people when they hear me say like they need to start adding punishments for misbehaving players, I'm sure they're like, oh, now the SL or the platoon leader is gonna be like Hitler and Stalin and they're gonna ruin our games. We're not gonna have any free will or some nonsense. It's like, yeah, but like that's how it is in real life. In real life, you're not fucking bitching at your SL talking about I'm gonna go lone wolf out in these fucking trees and huff it by myself and get blown the fuck up, Like, no, like, I would rather be under the command of Stalin SL than fucking, SL that doesn't speak or talk and doesn't do anything, And I'm not saying, like, only the infantry and all the other SLs deserve punishments for not listening to platoon leader. I think the platoon leader should get punishments too if they're not doing their fucking job either. I think that's fair. I think in order to create like a more balanced game and to create a more fair game where you're not just like running in disorganized as fuck, you gotta have some sort of real enforcement for people. Like, say if a fire team is like so and so, it's like he's like so and so far away from the SL. Like, say if a fire team is like far shit from the SL, they should get like a punishment of some sorts. Maybe their watch shutoffs. Maybe something happens. Maybe they're slower. Maybe they reload slower. Maybe the comms get turned off for them or some shit. Because like there has to be something to enforce people to stick together. You can see it on the map, like you can see the little squares, those are like the units. But in reality, like when you're playing it, it looks like this. It looks like your whole like squad is like spread out amongst this whole wide area, and things are like disorganized. I'm not saying you gotta like literally sit on top of your SL, but I'm just saying like there needs to be some sort of form, some sort of organization. Okay, this is what real life soldiers do. Maybe they should like implement like a rating system. Maybe after every match you get to rate how good your SL is, and that gets to determine who's the SL like next round, next match, or like you can rate how good your platoon commander is. Because really any of the operators in the game, any of the other classes, anyone can do them perfectly fine. The only ones that really matter are the SLs and the fire team leaders and, the platoon leaders and the platoon leader squad, which is like 3 people. Like, those are really the only roles that matter, because a noob could play as a rifleman, a noob could play as a grenadier, a noob could play as an RPG guy. But if the leaders suck, then the game is going to suck too. And if the leaders are, not playing the game right, then anyone else that is playing as, like, the rifleman, who's actually not a fucking noob, is just going to be pissed off. What this game is trying to solve is what Squad has been failing at, and mostly every tactical shooter, like Hell Let Loose and all those games, have failed at, which is actually creating a squad system that is actually coherent, and cohesive, and that actually works together. And all of these like games, like the squad system doesn't really work the way it would work in real life, or the way it's supposed to intend to work, And this is what this game is trying to fix, and I highly respect that. I think that's amazing. I think if they truly fixed that problem with this game, and they started adding like vehicles and shit like that, this would be like one of the best games of all time. This would literally be a cultural change, but right now it's like, yeah, like it is focused on that, but it's not going all the way. I feel like the devs, like Karma Cut or whoever the fuck's making this game, they're too scared to go all the way in that direction because they know people are gonna fucking hate it. They know that I think it's a minority, but there's a loud minority in the tactical shooter community that fucking is like annoying as fuck, doesn't follow the rules, doesn't care, doesn't care whether their team loses or wins or whether they're following the rules or not, and they don't want to make it so coordinated to where the noobs can't play either, And I think they just need to say fuck it and just go all the way. They already have everything here established, all this hardcore tactical shit. They just need to push the envelope, Because what this is really is just insurgency with a different game mode. And in a much more tighter squad system, much more intricate squad system. There really isn't anything more to this. But if they made it more professional, if they made it more you have to follow the rules, if they made it more LARP, like War of Rights, then I think this would be a really good game. They just got to stop being pussy about it, and they just got to they just got to do it. They just got to hit that shit. I don't know, but I'm gonna post this on the Reddit. Just let me know if you agree, disagree with me if you want. I don't care. I'll read it. I'll take some constructive criticism. Say that my video sucks. I don't care. Listen, I talk shit about Squad and I put it on the Reddit and I got fucking screamed at by the Redditors. So listen, these are just my criticisms of the game. I think it's a good game. I'm definitely gonna be playing it more. But I wish they added some more systems with the Squad to make it more cohesive, coherent, and all that, or just try to do something that's based around that, because this is more than just a gun game, an FPS tactical shooter gun game. No, this is a teamwork tactical simulator. That is what it is. It's about cohesiveness and teamwork, and yeah.